And happy Friday. Welcome to Community Voiced. Today is Friday, October 28th. I'm your host, Josh Engel, and today we have CASA in the studio. We call this the CASA Catch-Up. We got Cason Hightower, no stranger to the West Georgia, East Alabama audience, who is the past chair and fundraising chair for the Carroll County CASA. And we also have Staci Lee, who has been the executive director since November. And she has not come on the program yet, but we're fixing that this morning. We have Staci. She's the brand new executive director. We're going to have her on the program. We are also streaming live on our WLBB Facebook page. So any listeners, or if you're tuning in on Facebook, be sure to throw in some comments or questions to our guests, and I'd be proud to read them out. And you can get your answers live. So feel free to hop on there. First, why don't we just do some introductions? Cason, tell us a bit about yourself and your position here in the community.
Josh, thank you so much for having us this morning. It's been a while since CASA's been on Community Voice, but I have been a member of the CASA board since 2017, I believe. So I'm a funeral director here in Carroll County and serve on several boards, but CASA has been a real heart of mine. So I've had the pleasure of volunteering in a number of capacities over there. But as you mentioned, fundraising chair, and have been board chair for I guess that was 2 years ago now. So just a great organization and very happy to still be involved with them.
Doing great work. Thanks, Staci, we got Staci Lee. She is the executive director as of November of last year.
Yes.
So I bet it's been a crazy year.
It has. It's really good to be with you this morning. It has been a crazy year, but a good year. We've experienced a lot of growth since I became the executive director, and we have an awesome board. We're thankful for that. And, I've been with CASA for 4 years now, and like you said, the executive director for the last year.
So tell us a bit about you. Where'd you come from? What's your history, your experience?
Okay, so my background is in sociology, psychology. I graduated from University of West Georgia, home team, at 2008, and I've done a little bit of everything in social services. I owned a DUI school for a while in Macon. After that, I got into law enforcement for a while. I was a probation parole officer for about 5 years. Worked some with accountability courts, being the director of those. And then I went to CASA, and like Cason said, CASA can definitely just kind of take over your heart a lot of times. So that's definitely where my passion is and has been for the last 4 years.
It's a very impressive resume. That's
Thank you.
lot of history, and all very applicable to the work that CASA does. With your experience in the courts, your experience with law enforcement, and interacting with folks who probably were at different points incredibly stressed out or going through a bad time. So what kind of skills do you think that you picked up from those careers?
Well, kind of just in the social services realm as a whole, with each individual place, you definitely do get skills in, different things. With law enforcement, I would say that's a unique approach of, I was fortunate enough to have the mental health caseload, so that was definitely my favorite because you can have more compassion there, and that really helped. I think my streets just understanding that mental health perspective, and a lot of our families now struggle with that, and that's kind of where the abuse and neglect might start with our foster care kids. So with law enforcement, I would say that's one of the strengths. I also was at DFACS for a while. Love our DFACS family in Carroll County. They're awesome. Obviously, they're overworked, though, and I know that firsthand from being there. With CASA, it's a little different because we don't have 30 cases. Our CASA volunteers have 1 or 2 children that they're advocating for, so it's more one-on-one for that child.
So why don't we you bring up a great point. You mentioned the foster program. Why don't we step back and as the new executive director, give our audience an overview of CASA. What does it mean? What does CASA stand for? What's the mission? And what are the goals that CASA has?
That's a good question. A lot of people don't know what CASA is and think that it actually means a Spanish house, but it's an acronym. It's Court-Appointed Special Advocates. So basically, what happens when a child comes into foster care, they, a lot of times we'll have a different case manager with DFACS. They have different family placements, foster placements, after they come in to care. But a CASA volunteer is that one unique individual that's only there to advocate for the child's best interest. And it doesn't, change 5 or 6 times throughout the life of the case. So that's what our CASA volunteers do. We advocate for the child as far as, how are they doing in their placement? Are we looking at returning them back with their family? Have they made progress, or do we need to look at other options? And we get to know them, we get their school records, their medical records, talk to everybody in the case, and then we make that recommendation to the juvenile judge on their best interest. And so that's kind of what we do as far as the volunteering with that.
Now, it's difficult work. And, as you mentioned with DFACS is spread thin. What you offer, what's something that's so special about this program is what you mentioned earlier, the consistency, having someone work with these same cases for years. How important is that consistency and the stability and the mental health of the child?
It's so important. One of the things with our foster care children, obviously they've suffered abuse and neglect, and that's why they're in foster care to begin with. And when we have the CASA assigned to the case, that's one person that they can, depend on, one adult, because a lot of times they've never had an adult that they can depend on. So while they're in foster care, that's one person that's, not going to leave, that's going to be steady, and they're going to be able to, know that they're going to be there. So that's definitely important for the child. And what happens a lot of times is even after the case closes and the child's no longer in foster care, they look at that CASA as their family member, so sometimes they'll still have Thanksgiving dinner together. And it's special, that they have that one person that they can count on that's looking out for them.
Time is 8:37. Today is Friday, October 28th. You're listening to Community Voice. We're going to go ahead and take our first commercial break. But when we come back, we will continue our conversation with Cason Hightower and the Executive Director of CASA, Staci Lee, as we continue our conversation of CASA, catching up on what's been going down over the last year. So stay with us.
Health is a journey. It's making better choices, even when it's not easy. It's taking care of yourself and the people you love. At Tanner Health System, we're there for you with every step, with primary care, heart care, cancer care, women's care, orthopedics, surgical services, and so much more. We're dedicated to helping you live and feel your best. So let's get on that journey to health. You've got places to be for many years to come. Find us at tanner.org.
At Oak Mountain Academy, we value our grandparents and special friends. Throughout our 60-year legacy of excellence, our grandparents have been a vital component to our success. Friday, September 30th, we celebrated their generosity and continued support at our annual Grandparents' Day celebration. Please join me in thanking all of the grandparents for their amazing contributions to the lives of their beloved grandchildren. I'm Patrick Uran, head of school. For more information, visit us at oakmountain.us. The Warrior Legacy, celebrating 60 years of excellence. Warrior-minded, warrior-driven, warrior-led.
And we're back to Community Voice, 8:40 a.m. in the morning, Friday, October 28th. I'm your host, Josh Engel. And we're live streaming. The show's live streaming on WLBB's Facebook page. So if you have any questions or comments for our illustrious guests, hop on there, type them in. I'll be happy to ask them on your behalf. Today we got the past chair and fundraising chair of the Carroll County CASA, Cason Hightower, as well as the executive director as of last November, Staci Lee. Staci, if you just tuned in the last segment, we had a great opportunity just to sort of lay out what CASA does, the great work that they do. Definitely go back and check that out because, hey, executive director, She just executive directed. She just laid it out there, really laid it out there. So why don't we jump right back into it? Let's talk about the way things have changed. Since you've been appointed as the executive director, I'd love to get Cason's input first.
Sure. I think prior to Staci coming in as executive director, we had a couple of hard years, like everybody else in this community, with COVID. And how do you still serve kids when court is now virtual and you want to get in to do these home visits, but there's all these restrictions, and what does that look like, and how do we still manage cases? Before Staci was executive director, she was one of our advocacy coordinators, and what that really means is she's got all of these CASA volunteers under her, and those CASA volunteers are serving the kids, so she's kind of overseeing that. So I think she had a really unique perspective of here's where we are now, and here's where we need to go, and here's some of the updates that we need to do as a program to be able to still serve the kids in this community in 2022. Because like everything else, you've had to make some adjustments over the last couple of years. So I think she just had a very unique vision and framework around here's what we have been doing, and here's what I'm seeing isn't working too well. And you heard it in the first segment, but Staci's passion for children in this community, specifically foster children, and her heart for reunification and her heart for just making sure that the voices of those kids are heard in the court system, but also in community circles, and who is the best person to tell those stories. I think that was kind of the thing that's changed the most, in my opinion, over the last year. Is I think we're becoming more focused on making sure that those stories are getting out and that people in this community are able to hear these awesome stories of, I've got one family that's coming to mind, and he's probably no stranger to this show either, so I know he wouldn't mind me telling him, but Trey and Emily Jane Gass, their two sons were in foster care. And they were blessed with an awesome CASA volunteer who actually used to be on staff with us, Andrea Jones. And they told their story at our Grand Night fundraiser. But, those are the kind of stories where Andrea really advocated for the best interest of those two children. And now they are in a loving, I can't think of a better home for those two boys to be in. I mean, Trey and Emily
really
Jane
lucked out.
They lucked out with some pretty awesome parents, right? But
people.
she made sure that happened, and that's what they do every single day, is trying to make sure that these 120 kids that are in care all have an equally as loving and caring home as the Gass home. So I think that those are the stories that we're trying to get out into the community so that everybody knows what we do.
You found a great person for it. She had Staci here. She laid out some of her CV earlier, some of her resume, and it was. I mean, when she had been working already with CASA, and we'll be talking about your experience here in just a moment. As she had been working there for a while, then did that experience, just the history she had, did that go a long way in deciding that she would be the best step forward as executive director?
A very long way. I mean, I think as a board member and just as a business, owner or operator in this community, I think what people look for is someone with passion, someone with drive, someone with initiative. And Staci had all three of those things. I mean, when I was board chair or past board chair, it could be 7:30 in the morning, or it could be 6:45 at night, and my phone would ring, and Staci's just like, I have a question about this, or I have this idea, and I really think that we could do this, and I know that it's a little bit bigger scale than what we have done, but what do you think? So she always had those ideas and that passion, and so I think that just her heart for CASA mainly, but she was also able to, learn and grow from some executive directors that we had in the past and some other staff, and I think that all of that combined just made her the ideal
Ideal candidate.
Exactly.
Well,
I have a really good board too. Like, not all nonprofit agencies can say that, but if you have a good board backing you, that goes a long way.
it's essential.
Right. And their passion, matches mine. So when I call Cason with my craziest idea, she's not like, okay, let's not do that. She's like, yeah, let's do it. So that definitely
That's
helps.
synergistic support. That
Right.
that relationship.
Right.
Well, let's talk about your experience at CASA, because you have you were in a position before becoming the executive director as of last November.
Right.
Tell us what your experience was before and how it changed once you became the director.
So CASA as an advocacy coordinator, and that's what I did my first several years with CASA. I'm out in the field, I'm backing up and supporting our volunteers and teaching them field work and going out into the homes. So, that's always where my passion has been, is kind of getting in there, getting your hands dirty, doing all of that good stuff. As executive director, I think it's always been important to me anyway to remember that focus and remember what that works like, because that's where we want to support, our volunteers and our staff and back them up. So I think that it definitely helped that, I was doing the groundwork for so long before I became an executive director. But now, obviously, I do a lot more of writing grants and, working with Cason on fundraising, payroll, all of that stuff. But there's definitely still days where I'm like, hey, I'm going to go get my hands dirty. So I'm going to, just because that's, I'm social services degree.
It's
that's
your passion.
Where my
You can't
passion
contain
is.
it. You're going to be out
Yeah.
there.
So
Just to piggyback off that, I think there were probably some growing pains for Staci within the first couple months of transitioning, because when you're wanting to be hands-on with volunteers and we put you in an executive director role, and now you're sitting behind a computer trying to figure out, so does this grant pay for this or this?
Right.
And how do I, that is, it's a switch.
Big time.
But the fact that she knew the big picture for the organization, and she had the passion to make sure that we're funded so that I want 100% of the kids that are in foster care to have a CASA. So her big picture sitting behind that computer was, how do I get the funding to get this many more volunteers to be able to serve 100%? I'm at 80%. I got to get to 100%. So she was able to bring in that full vision. But I do think there were days that she was like, I really need to go get my hands on a volunteer. And
It's
be
hard, I
like, what
bet.
are we doing?
Yeah.
So I think that there was a transition piece, but instead of bringing in an executive director who didn't really know about the heart of CASA and what our volunteers went through and what that was like, but could maybe write the best grant in the state, instead of bringing in somebody like that who was just in numbers and analytics and let's get this organization to here, I think what we needed as a board and as an organization was somebody with the heart for that. And the numbers and stuff, we live in an awesome community. That'll figure itself out, because when everybody else knows about it, they'll figure it out.
Sometimes you just got to have somebody that can tell the story and tell it right and has lived the story. And I'm pretty sure if anyone's lived the story, it would be the new executive director of the Carroll County CASA, Staci Lee. We're going to go ahead and take our second commercial break. But when we come back, we're going to chat about the Turkey Trot, an event that CASA has coming up pretty soon. You're not going to want to miss that, as well as wrapping up our conversation with past chair and fundraising chair Cason Hightower and executive director Staci Lee. So stay with us.
Health is a journey. It's making better choices, even when it's not easy. It's taking care of yourself and the people you love. At Tanner Health System, we're there for you with every step, with primary care, heart care, cancer care, women's care, orthopedics, surgical services, and so much more. We're dedicated to helping you live and feel your best. So let's get on that journey to health. You've got places to be for many years to come. Find us at tanner.org.
I'm Michael Flynn, Oak Mountain Academy class of 1978.
Katie Flynn, class of 2010.
Justin Flynn, class of 2014.
Logan Flynn, class of 2019.
And I'm Marnie Flynn, current teacher at OMA.
My uncle Richard Orm Flynn, a founding father of Oak Mountain Academy, had a vision to see students become confident leaders who hold a faith-based value system in an academically rigorous environment. We are proud to celebrate 60 years of fulfilling my uncle's vision.
Our family invites you to visit the campus or oakmountain.us today.
And we're back to Community Voice. Time is 8:49 a.m. I'm your host, Josh Engel. We're live streaming on WLBB's Facebook page. So if you have any questions or comments for our guest, throw them out there. I'd be happy to read them in the time we have left. We have Cason Hightower. She's the past chair and fundraising chair of the Carroll County CASA. And we also have Staci Lee. It's a great name, Staci Lee. It sounds like a Buddy Holly song.
I've had it for a while.
Oh, yeah. You've tried it out. It's pretty good. You're not going to switch up anytime soon. She's been the executive director of the Carroll County CASA since last November. Haven't had a chance to get her on the program. So glad to catch up with her. Incredible show. If you're just tuning in, be sure to check out the live stream of the whole episode or the podcast, which will be uploaded to this station's website as well as gradicommunications.com. So, got an event coming up.
We sure do.
The famous Turkey Trot, CASA's famous event. Let's talk about it. When is it? Where is it? What's going to be going on?
It's hard to believe, but this is our 4th year doing Turkey Trot.
Wow.
So it's an idea that actually came to fruition when Judge Erica Tysinger was chair of our board, and I was her chair-elect. And we were just sitting in a board meeting one night, and she was like, y'all, I used to run in a Turkey Trot, and I think it would be really cool.
Turkey Trot.
And I was like, we need a Turkey Trot. We have all these other 5K and 10Ks, but nothing on Thanksgiving. So Turkey Trot is held every Thanksgiving morning at 9 a.m. at Hobbs Farm. And last year, 2 years ago, I guess, we added a 10K option. So it's a 5K and 10K. They are Peachtree qualifiers.
Wow.
So, and it's awesome. Soul Roots does a great job of putting all of that on. So shout out to them because they take all the logistics off of our hands. But it's just a great family fun event. There's a turkey or a gobble wobble for the little kids. So kids 8 and under have a little race. Santa's there with photos, so you can do free photos with Santa. And it's just a good opportunity for all the family to come out and get a little exercise before you go, stuff your face all day.
For those of us who are planning on eating a lot, the 10K sounds like a reasonable option because you just get rid of it.
Exactly.
Just burn it off.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even feel. Listen, this is why you got to come out here. You're going to be in town anyway. Come on out and do the Turkey Trot. And you can pre-bank some calorie space.
Well, here's the great thing, Josh. If you're not in town, you got to go to your in-laws or something.
Yep.
You can do it virtually. You still get a T-shirt. You still get all the perks.
What?
I'm just
and
saying.
The T-shirt. People are going for the T-shirt. Everybody loves T-shirts.
People are going for the T-shirt.
Y'all have great shirts.
I'm just saying. Carrollton Elementary School has helped design all 4 of our T-shirts. This year's really cute.
This one is cute.
It's a collector's item.
Wow.
It's like you got to get the T-shirt.
Yeah.
So you can still register to run. You can still sponsor. All of that info is on our website.
So even if you can't be here at Hobbs Farm on Thanksgiving morning, what time on Thanksgiving morning?
9 a.m.
9 a.m. is when it starts. 9 a.m. So even if you can't be here for the turkey trot, or if you're a kid, the gobble wobble, and I just wanted to say those words.
Yeah.
And even if you're not here, you can still sign in virtually and just run wherever you are, and then still participate.
Exactly. Still log your time and everything with the Woodard, so you get a T-shirt.
And you're still getting to be able to support the great work of the Carroll County CASA.
Absolutely.
I mean, and so do we have an idea price-wise how much it is to register?
Yes. So actually, if you register by Monday at midnight, it's still early bird pricing. So prices do go up on November the 1st. So $25, I believe, for the 5K and $35 for the 10K. So register now before November 1st.
Great price. And now that they've heard the program, that's a really good price because they know that that's a small price to pay to be able to fulfill the goal here of having all the foster kids in the CASA program with the CASA.
Well, and I'll tell you too, our Turkey Trot, the proceeds from that race were actually designed to do something kind of different.
Yeah.
So we have our Grand Night fundraiser every spring, and that money really goes to the organization itself and helping us run and do our daily thing. The money from Turkey Trot is specifically designated for kids in foster care to do things like pay for their band dues or art supplies, or if they need money to go on a field trip, so that it's not coming out of those foster parents' dollars.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those foster kids who need that. So we can either buy clothes or book bags, or so it's specifically for their needs.
Such a great idea. And there's constantly needs. I mean, when you're in school, there's always dues. There's always, you want to play on a team, you got to do this, you got to pay that. This helps curb that cost and give everyone a great, fun, healthy thing to do on Thanksgiving. So you can go to carrollcasa.org. You can register. There's a link to the Turkey Trot. You can definitely sign up for that. as far as volunteers, there's two things that nonprofits three things that nonprofits always need. Prospective board members, whether they have room for them or not.
Right.
They always need volunteers, and they always need funds.
Yes.
So let's talk about volunteering. You're in the middle of a volunteer training course right now.
We are. So the volunteer training course is actually 30 hours. We have virtual options now. So if anybody is interested in becoming a volunteer, you don't have to come into our office and sit down for 30 hours. You can do it virtually at your own pace. So that's always good. But what our volunteers do, obviously, they go through the training. We have a wonderful juvenile court judge, Judge Palmer, that swears them in as a CASA volunteer. And at that point, we can assign them to foster care children, and then they will have, an oath that they do, and that once they're assigned to the cases, they can get all the information they need pertaining to that foster care child while they're advocating for them. So right now we're serving right around 70% of all the children in foster care in Carroll County. We would obviously love to have a CASA volunteer on each case because it's just so important. Like studies and research show that foster care children who do have a CASA volunteer assigned to their case, they don't stay in care as long, so they're getting out of foster care quicker. And again, they have that one special person, adult, that they can depend on and count on to look out for their best interest.
So, go ahead.
I was just going to say, there is also a form on our website where you can go and fill out some information if you're interested in becoming a volunteer. And then our next volunteer training class will be in January. So there is a upcoming opportunity for that as well.
Yes.
So go to carrollcasa.org. You can register to sign up for that next class. My phone refreshed. We only have 3 minutes, but I do have a question from a listener. It just came in. The one and only Derek Newton. Love the guy. The juvenile court review panels were eliminated during the pandemic. What is the accountability process now?
So there's several different steps. Obviously, that's another reason why we do need CASAs. Unfortunately, our citizens panel review that the listener is talking about, that was made up a lot of retired people, and during the COVID pandemic, unfortunately, they couldn't get together like before because they were more at risk for COVID and stuff like that. The last time that I talked to Judge Palmer about that, he's looking into some options of bringing the citizens panel review back, whether it's in a virtual nature or back in person. So we are looking back into that with the citizens panel review, but we definitely miss those two.
Sure. Well, thank you for that question, Derek. We only have about a minute and a half left. If you could let folks know where they can go to sign up to volunteer, to give donations, and also I heard a rumor that you guys are going to be having a trunk or treat on Monday.
We are. We're really excited about our trunk or treat too. It's just a safe option for community kids to come out, and obviously it's wrapped candy. We will have our volunteers out and obviously staff having the trunk or treat. So good family fun. It's in the CASA parking lot. We share a parking lot with Raylan, so that's where we are at
the old BB&T building
BB&T.
across the street from
BB&T.
across the street from
on
the courthouse.
Dixie Street. Yes. So come out and see us. That starts at 6, and we'd love to see you there. Bring your trunk or treaters with you.
Perfect. And where can folks learn more about the turkey trot coming up, the trunk or treat volunteer course?
Yes. So everything's going to be on our website at carrollcasa.org. If you want to volunteer, or maybe volunteering is not something you feel comfortable with, but you want to support us and our mission, everything is on carrollcasa.org. But again, send us volunteers. We definitely need them. We want to reach our 100% mark.
And you can like and share us on Facebook
and
Instagram too.
Please
social media.
Social media.
Cason, Staci, thank you both for coming on the program today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the work you do at the Carroll County CASA, and for all of you tuning in at home, we'll see you next week.